Okay, Madison, it's really great to meet you. Finally, I've been wanting to meet you for a long time now. And when I heard that you're running for Gerard Rennick's party, People First, I thought, wow, what a great combination, these two, and what a great representative for WA. So that's amazing. Congratulations on that. Look, in a recent interview, Gerard Rennick described you as being erudite, and I thought, absolutely, that's my take on it as well. What can you tell me? What brought you into politics? How did you get here? What
Um,
inspired you?
I think it was okay. Like I've always been watching politics, but kind of from a distance. But what really got me was the voice, the referendum, and then I thought, I know where this is going, and I know how this is going to block the grassroots people at the very bottom. We're already blocked by the people that are in high positions, so the CEOs, directors, general managers. And I see it within the community, how that money never trickles down to the community itself. So that was my biggest platform. I got 1 million views on my first TikTok, and then I was shut down 3 months later because then I started to see other things. Then I started to read about the history of China and Russia joining World War One and Two, and then everything I knew about history, what I thought I knew about history, was wrong. We were only being fed one side of history, and then I started to question, well, whose history are we reading? Whose perspective are we reading? Whose narrative are we reading? And it really started to unravel in my head. And then I brought it back to our politics. And then it was another eye opener when we hit I've gone blank. But so it started off with the no vote, and then every 46 seconds, someone was coming into this country. And then I started to think, how is that affordable? How can we be bringing so many people into this country when we've got people on the streets, unemployed? You have daycare that's just so out of reach for the average person. And then you've got education that we're spending, well, Australia is getting more revenue out of universities than they are out of a mining corporation. So anyway, then I ended up doing more digging and more research. And then I came to the realization that Pilbara alone is taking $1 billion, the mining companies, and only paying 2 to 4% in tax. But yet a spirit and alcohol tax is making $20 to $25 billion per year, and they're being taxed at 30%. But the corporations in the mining industry are being taxed only $2 to $4 billion. It made no sense. Now, there's another bit as well. 1,200 corporations have not paid their taxes. That's $39 billion per year. That's in revenue for the Australian people. Combining that in that would bring us down to paying off the $1 trillion in 14 to 15 years. So the $39 billion there and the 32, I believe it is, I can't remember off the top of my head, but combining those two things on a yearly basis would bring it down to, well, would wipe out the $1 trillion debt in 15 years.
And meanwhile, we the people are being charged a collective amount of around 66% on the dollar.
Yes.
Through all of these just incredible taxes. Some things are being triple taxed.
Exactly. And I don't understand why people are continuing to vote for Liberal and Labor and the Teals. It blows my mind.
When Liberal and Labor are working together, and it's so obvious.
Yeah. And then you've got Peter Dutton and both Albanese saying, oh no, we're going to continue to support Ukraine at $1.5 billion. Well, that $1.5 billion could build a couple of thousand houses in Australia. That still wouldn't resolve the housing crisis. So what are we doing? And then I gave a list of 50 countries on my Facebook as well as TikTok. We're sending $10 million, $50 million, $100 million to Indonesia, PNG. Why are we doing this? I get that we get to look after Solomon Islands, the Cook Islands, New Zealand, and PNG. I totally understand that. I'm for that. They're our neighbours and we have to protect them. But when it comes to sending $5 million to Chile, $10 million to Venezuela, what the hell is that about?
And Australia just continues to stagnate, really.
It does. I mean, where is the growth? There has been no growth, and it seems to be always the pensioners and the 60 plus, the boomers, that continue to vote the same rubbish.
Yeah.
And it's the younger generation that are going to suffer for it in the end.
Madison, moving on, look, I would describe Gerard Rennick as being one of the most, well, possibly the most knowledgeable and honourable person in Australian politics. How does it feel to be working with him?
Look, I think he is absolutely amazing. You know, when people say, you know, you're the next Prime Minister, it's like, no, I've got a long way to go. And if there was someone I was going to learn something from, it's Gerard. So when he asked me to come on board, it was at the AEC at the time when I was paying for my registration. I got his phone call, and I thought about it for a few minutes because I was kind of really happy to go on my own. Then I thought, hang on, I could learn so much from this man. He's amazing, and everything that he talks about is the same thing that I talk about.
Yep.
So I would have been shooting myself in the foot had I continued on my own, because there's a lot of growth in him that I can grab from him and continue to widen my my range of
Understanding
of
But
those different platforms.
But it's also learning the political process. So I think you made a very wise choice there.
Well, the thing is, Andrew, I don't have an ego or pride. And I've found along the way there's a lot of parties, both the big parties and the small parties, they have so much ego that they're too busy trying to shoot each other down within their parties. But with him, we're just smooth sailing.
Yeah.
We're under his wing. We stand back and let him be the boss.
Absolutely. Hey, look, let's move on then. Out of the People First policies, which are you most positive about or passionate about?
Mine is about the taxes. Mine is superannuation, childcare reforms, and keeping our money here in Australia and our resources. For me, if we don't keep those resources here and start manufacturing, we are not living in 1980s anymore. We are surrounded by robotics and machineries. We only have to look to Singapore for great ideas. Then we go to Japan for even better ideas. And then, you know, Ernie Bridges' policies are about the pipeline. So Ernie Bridges' idea from piping the water down from the Kimberleys to the south during its wet season made enormous sense. I mean, Gaddafi did it. So bringing agriculture down from the top to the bottom during their wet season and our dry season also opens up more opportunities in small towns and communities.
I think a lot of people don't really know about this, but the Pilbara region of Western Australia has a proverbial ocean under it. So that makes a lot of sense, besides the Kimbleys.
Yeah.
Hey, so look, yesterday we had a little bit of a get-together that you weren't able to join us at, and that's understandable. But I took a little bit of a poll on what questions people would really like to ask you.
Okay.
And so I'm going to fire a couple of those at you now. The first one that was on really the most popular one was, would you support a royal commission into the COVID pandemic and the excess deaths because of that?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody needs to be held accountable, right from the top down, and everyone in between. To me, I've questioned why hasn't King's Councils, Queen's Councils jumped on board at that very time, including the human rights. Why weren't they fighting against the government? Because they took away our human rights.
Absolutely. Hey, another one that was very popular was, are you concerned about scrutineering in this election?
I'm an optimist. I would like to always think that people will do the right thing. But it's also our fault as a part of the community. We can't just keep blaming a system. It's the people that needs to be accountable as well. If you feel so strongly about that, Why aren't you putting your hand up to be here today? Why aren't you putting your hand up to become a scrutineer? The responsibility is also the onus of your behaviour and your actions. You cannot keep blaming one system.
I think that's they're really wise words. Another one is, are you prepared to do something about APRA? Obviously, Gerard is all about that. Are you following along with that side of his journey?
No, I can't say that I am, to be honest. Some things I'm quite happy to say, I don't know that.
Yeah.
But educate me on that.
Look, I really appreciate you saying that, because pure honesty is what we really need. And you also can't be 100% across all subjects.
No.
And you are very knowledgeable on so much already, so that's great. You've already mentioned, I think, the foreign students coming into the country. You've touched on that.
Well, they bring in $13 billion just in school fees. But they actually bring in $53 billion into the economy by working and living here.
Yeah, but a lot of them don't actually ever go home. Do you? And that
That is
obviously
an issue.
we have the housing crisis with that.
And that's an issue. But when you look at it, it's strategic by the two-party system, because it's about them. I think when they stay here for maybe 5 years or something, they're allowed to vote under PR or something. Don't quote me on it. I haven't done my full research on it, but I do believe somewhere along the line they're allowed to vote. So the two-party system they don't care about the Australian people anymore. It's about them getting where their votes are coming from.
Is there anything else you'd like to mention? We've talked about it quite a bit right now, but is there anything that's really strong on your agenda if you are
Immigration.
successful?
So for me, immigration, it's not like we don't like these people coming in, but a lot of people are not vetted. Secondly, it is not fair to bring people into this country and have them go through the same hard issues as us when we don't have infrastructure, we don't have housing, we don't have initiatives like the pipeline from the Kimberleys to the south and all in between to look after small towns, small communities. Why are we bringing them in? To me, that's human slavery in modern day history, or 2025. I mean, what does that say about us if we allow that behaviour to continue? So it's got nothing to do with racism, but there are people that do not value our current beliefs and our culture and our society. So why are we bringing in a hot mixing box when we're going to end up looking like the UK and France and Switzerland? And nobody wants to talk about that.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I think that maybe no one wants to talk about it in politics, but I think general Australia is really feeling that. So it's great. Okay, Madison, so how do people get behind you? How do they find you, number one? How do they follow you? You're obviously all over social media. How do they get involved in helping hand out how to vote cards and being generally assisting this process?
Look, guys, what we need you guys to come down here. You cannot expect us to do all the hard work and then have no one here, no one supporting us, no one inside being a scrutineer. If you want a fair and just Australia, especially in Western Australia, because we don't want to repeat what's going on with the last election, state election with Western Australia. When you're sitting back on your couch and you're going, oh, she'll be right, someone else has got it, you're doing a disservice not only to yourself, but to our community and to our state. So we need you guys to come on board. We need you guys to fight for our country and what our beliefs are. And if you're not stepping up, then you're part of the problem and not the solution.
Fantastic. What about Facebook pages, Instagram pages? How do people get in touch with you?
As you know, I have 37,000 followers on my TikTok. And for the past month, since I said I was running with Gerard Rennick, no one's getting anything. I have people that approach me on the streets, or they, send me other messages through other platforms, and they're like, Madison, I haven't seen your post in a couple of weeks. And yet they're like, now I'm going through all your posts and I'm doing like 3 weeks worth of catch up. So I'm not being put out there on the social media platform, but although with Facebook, I have grown up to 10,000 followers in 2 weeks, because I hate Facebook, because that's where I get a lot of my death threats, is on Facebook for some reason. But TikTok, it's normally amazing. I can get my message out there, 50,000 plus views, and the AEC made me remove a lot of my posts. So anything that was from 60,000 up, and that included superannuation, anything to do with superannuation, digital ID, how to vote, or there was something else, but there was 4 things I had to remove from my platform.
Well, as you should know, being a student of history, when you're copying the most flack is when you're over the target. And so you're obviously doing a great job. Keep it up, and best of luck in this election.
Oh, thank you very much, Andrew. I really appreciate the interview today.
Absolute pleasure. Awesome.